Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto changed after the wave mission and won Tenten and Temari with his shadow clone power part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Kakashi was his usual self, flipping through his Ika Ika novel, humming a tune to himself, while walking towards the Hokage Tower, where the Sandaime waited. He sensed the chakra natures of everyone in the shinobi village, expertly making his way around all of his fellow Jonin and mentally cheers as he makes it past Guy, despite the green beast being on the other side of the village. Hokage-sama, Kakashi chimes, walking inside without a warning. You called. The old man sighed. You should learn how to knock, Kakashi. Meh. Kakashi shrugged, knockings for Genin and Civis. Alerting you before they come are Chunin and Jonin. I'd usually take the window, but then Kurenai would see me, so nah. Typical. The Sandaime shook his head, now, about the graduating academy students. Kakashi nods, shutting his book close. The copy nin isn't usually seen without his perverted book, but Hiruzen was content with the fact that Kakashi was willing to pay attention. Sometimes the Hatake was a tiny bit selective when it comes to paying attention to people. Your new team, the Hokage's eyes turned dark, you have to pass them. Kakashi blinked. This is my Genin team, don't I get to choose if they pass or not? Political pressure. Hiruzen grumbles, worst thing in the world. Political pressure. Kakashi repeated. Screw it. If they aren't qualified, they aren't qualified. End of story. The Sandaime let out a little key, or otherwise known as killing intent. Kakashi. It wasn't to freak the man out, but it was a warning. Kakashi's been through much worse than an old man's key, even if the old man was the Hokage and known as the most powerful Kage of his generation. Kakashi sighed, massaging his temple. Do I have permission to whip them into shape? Hiruzen nods slowly. You have to. With the Uchiha survivor, the Yondaime's son and the rich Haruno heiress, they have high expectations on them. You're the only one suited for this. What? So Anbu training is okay? Not that. They're still children, Kakashi. They're not that young. Kakashi pointed out. I joined Anbu just a year older than them. Hiruzen rolled his eyes, taking in a breath of smoke. We're not at war or anything, Kakashi. Dismissed. Kakashi Hatake, 009720, Jonin. And when he finished identifying himself, the ninja saunters back out of the office, waving a hand in farewell. Hiruzen inhales another mouthful of his tobacco. The Sandaime's chakra spiked, and a guarding Anbu member was instantly by his side, the window flung wide open. Yes, Hokage-sama. The Sandaime narrowed his eyes. Make sure no one enters training ground 22. Yes, Hokage-sama. The Anbu paused. May I ask why? The old man sighed, closing his eyes. I think our top shinobi needs to blow off some steam. Anyone caught in the collective damage will take responsibility. Don't say I didn't warn you. It was normal for Kakashi to blow off some steam. It was just. The man's gone through a lot, and one of the things he hated the most was being a pawn with his decisions being decided by someone else. Despite what others think, the most prominent reason why Kakashi's dropped all of his former teams was because he didn't want them to be pressured into something they didn't want to do. Being part of the Team 7 legacy meant that a lot of attention was on the members, and that was something Kakashi wanted to be avoided. Pipe //pipe// pipe. Righto. Kakashi I smiled, my cute little Genin. Let's do this. In front of the Jonin stood freshly graduated academy students, Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno. The one thing they had in common. That they were tired, somehow being kept up at night by some weird puppy who demanded attention. You all look tired. Kakashi raises an eyebrow. Naruto groaned. There was this freaking annoying dog, and what's its name kept me up all night long. Me too. Sakura exclaimed. Wretched dogs. Sasuke agreed. Kakashi smiled, and the three Genin hopes soared, maybe their first training day wasn't going to so hard. And all three of them ate dirt a split second later. Kakashi stood over them, a stormy look on his face. What kind of shinobi complained after one sleepless night? I need to teach you quite a lot, it seems. First lesson. Never complain. Understood. He never understood this declining academy education. When he was back in there, part of the graduation exam was you had to stay awake for 72 hours without rest. What was going on inside of that academy nowadays? None of them responded, too busy rolling around on their stomachs, gasping for breath. Kakashi inhaled, letting out a small dose of ki, just to shock them out of their pain. I said, understood. All three of the squeaked, understood, sensei. Good. Kakashi hauled all three of them up and expertly tied them upside down before any of them even realized what happened, making sure that all three of them were unarmed and had no way of getting out. Now, we're going to have a psychology session today. We're going to take turns saying something honest that you know no one else knows. What? Sakura tried to turn her head the right way round, but ended up swinging and knocking into Naruto's face, who in turn kneed Sasuke in the stomach. Haruno. Sasuke hissed. That was uncalled for. Sorry. Sakura pleaded. I didn't mean it. I'll go first. Kakashi offers. Usually I'd do a team assessment to decide if a genin team is worth it or not, but I didn't this time. Why? Because I was ordered by the Hokage to pass the three of you, due to some political pressure. All three genin shut up. Naruto was the first to speak after a moment of silence. Ordered to pass us. Correct. Kakashi I smiled. Now, who's next? How about you, you brooding Uchiha? Sasuke scowled. Why do I have to do this childish little? Because I said so. Kakashi smiled, but it was bordering on a dangerous line. The genin gulp. Kakashi usually didn't be so mean at his subordinates, but something made the Sandaime order him to pass the team, and Kakashi was frustrated. And this team was like the scraps and leftovers of the graduating academy class this year, which is something that Kakashi wanted, needed, to change. What was lesson number 1 again, yellow? Naruto exchanged glances with Sakura. Me. Yes, you. Never complain. Don't say it like a question, please. Never complain. Kakashi turned to Sasuke, his charcoal black eye boring into Sasuke's. Now, you hear that? Don't complain, you little brat. You've only passed because I was ordered to pass you. Sasuke spat out a mouthful of blood, his face already swelling up. Hi, sensei. Good. Kakashi let go of Sasuke, and the boy gasped as his back hit the tree with a small bang. Now, it's your turn. Even Sasuke didn't disobey. I want to kill my brother. Kakashi yawned. Already knew that. Next. Sasuke scowled, turning pink. I like tomatoes. That's wonderful. Kakashi smiled. Obnoxious orange fox, it's your turn. Naruto again was uncertain. That's me. That's you. Kakashi nods. Well, I sometimes get beaten up by villagers. Naruto cried, ratting off the first thing on his tongue. None of you knew that, Dadbao. Kakashi's ki leaked. You sometimes get what by who? I get beaten up by some villagers when I'm alone. Naruto repeated, his voice getting smaller and smaller as Kakashi's ki increased, making the air turn frigid and charged with electricity. It was a theory that if your chakra reserves were large enough, even by releasing some ki, you'll also subconsciously leak chakra into the atmosphere and change the air according to your chakra nature. Who? It wasn't a question. It was demand. The person who dared lay a hand on his sensei's child was going to go to hell. Some guy named Kyosuke and his gang. I swear. They're the usual ones. Kakashi nods, his ki suddenly disappearing and the air turning normal. The Jonin smiles. Your turn, Sakura-chan. The Haruno felt a shiver go down her spine. I'm the unwanted child ever since my brother came back from his business trip. That was new. Kakashi nods. Now it's my turn. He settles down on the ground comfortably, much to his dangling genin's horror. My honest impression of you three. 1. An arrogant loud blabbermouth who can't keep his damaged pride in check. Sasuke growled. 2. The most childish, idiotic and ignorant person I have ever met, and that's including 5-year-olds. Naruto winced, looking someplace else, ashamed. And 3. A spoiled brat heiress who's whining about her golden brother returning and has no idea about hard work. Sakura hissed, eyes turning angry. Kakashi held out his arms, wincing internally as he knew it was too harsh. But they needed to face reality, exaggerated or not. Prove me wrong when I teach you. Emo Duckhead. It's your turn. Quote. I like getting up in the mornings to watch sunrises. Next. I like doing what Tem does, watching sunrises. It's so peaceful. Dadbeo. Interesting. Spoiled brat. I'm not. My family doesn't like Shinobu Soibkamwan to piss them off. Rebellious child. What did Haruno say? She said that her family doesn't like shinobi, so she became one to piss them. What? The other two boys didn't know how to react. One had become shinobi because A, it was in his blood, and B, he needed to become stronger to kill his brother. The other one had become shinobi to A, become Hokage, which then B, in turn gave him attention. Kakashi clapped his hands together, startling the 3 genin and drawing attention to himself. Lesson 2. Never interrupt me when I speak. Kakashi's face turned hard, but not the kind that was purposeful. It almost seemed nostalgic. Lesson 3. Never judge a person by their words. Lesson 4. Always support your teammates. But Kakashi sent a glare towards Naruto, who instantly shut up. I'll be giving out 5 lessons each session, so remember them carefully. When I mean support, I mean helping them. Yes, Sakura might have the worst excuse to become shinobi I have heard in a long time, but that doesn't mean she wants to become shinobi on her own. Now it's my turn. Hi, sensei. All 3 genin chorused, mind getting dizzy from being tied upside down for too long. Kakashi smiled innocently. Those dogs that kept you up all night. They're mine. Kuchio's no jutsu. A puff of smoke appeared, before it gradually dissipated, and there stood 3 dogs, all of them familiar. Kakashi relished in amusement the horror of his genin and how smug his dogs were once they recognized each other. What's its name? You. It's Pakun, Fox Kid. Stop calling me a fox. You. Shiba. Thanks, Uchiha Kid. You're the one who tore up my blanket at night and I almost froze to death. Urushi at your service, ma'am. Next. Kakashi eyes smiled. Brat, it's your turn. Sasuke growled. I now hate dogs. Kakashi shrugged, turning to Naruto, who was still in an argument with Pakun, and surprisingly enough, it was about who was the loudest last night. Naruto. It's your turn. I don't know who my parents are. Naruto yelled, the blood in his head finally affecting him. Kakashi smiled. There we go. Now they could really have a heart-to-heart, of course, with the kid's version of being drunk. This is. Sakura yawned. A scroll. Correct. Kakashi beamed, despite the fact that it was 3 a.m. in the morning. The Jonin had his clones drag the 3 genin out of bed, and now all 3 of them stood in the freezing cold in just their pajamas. Naruto was the best off. He went to sleep with everything on, including his jacket, simply because he had no blanket or duvet to sleep underneath. Sasuke, however, stood there in navy shorts and a plain white t-shirt, shivering like mad. Sakura was in a light pink nightgown, hugging herself to create warmth. Now, Kakashi smiles wider. Recap of the lessons from last night. Obnoxious Orange Fox. Lesson 1. Never complain. Brooding Navy Emo. Lesson 2. Never interrupt you. Spoilt Pink Brat. Lesson 3. Never judge a person by their words. Fox. Lesson 4. Always support your teammates. Emo. Lesson 5. Never question you or your methods. Kakashi smiled. Seems like you all remember. That's great. Now's time for Lesson 6. Always wear your gear. The 3 genin nod weakly. Lesson 6. Always wear your gear. They chorused, shivering and sniffing in the freezing cold. Kakashi, however, was dressed in his usual Jonin outfit, with an extra cloak around his shoulders. It was used so his genin couldn't see the blood on his back from where he went on an assassination mission earlier that morning, an emergency from the Hokage. Now, unseal what's in the scroll, Kakashi instructs, and counts how long it takes for the genin to identify and undo the seal in pitch darkness, with only the moon as a light source. Then he noted they were shivering like they were in the snow. Did he forgot that it was already winter? He thought it was still autumn. Naruto ended up being the one to unseal it, and Kakashi wasn't surprised. The Uzumaki was known for being seal masters. Sensei, these are. Yup. Kakashi grinned. Anbu uniforms with a slight twist. Sakura gaped. They're completely white, with black masks and cloaks. Sasuke squinted at his sensei. Are we like the opposite of Anbu? Can't have the actual Anbu confusing you little brats with them, so there. Kakashi yawned. Took me a while to convince the Sandame. How long? Naruto asked while turning around to find someplace private to change. Kakashi held up a hand, and the boy froze. You're all changing here, and it probably took me half an hour. That's my 30 minutes wasted on you three, so you better wear it. Sakura gulped as the two boys exchanged glances before respectfully turned around and tried to avert their eyes, but Kakashi was instantly behind them and twisted them back around so all three of them faced each other. Get changed. Now. Not even needing a bit of ki to push them along, the genin instantly stripped in front of each other. Sakura turned redder than even the ripest strawberry. Naruto and Sasuke had the decency not to look, but it was kind of hard while facing each other and Kakashi forcing their heads up. Lesson 7, Kakashi said as soon as all three had finished changing, you are shinobi. Under any circumstances, you will prioritize your missions and teammates and not your privacy or your personal preferences. Lesson 7, we are shinobi. Under any circumstances, we will prioritize our missions and teammates and not our privacy or our personal preferences. The genin chorused, committing it to memory, sounding quite robotic, and the black not Anbu masks added to the scene. They were scarred for life by the time Kakashi had let them down from being tied up the night before, having sprouted anything that comes to mind while being honest. Let's say the genin's closest people in their life was now their teammates and sensei, who had to listen to them tell secret after secret. Kakashi grinned under the mask. It seemed like these genin weren't as bad as he thought. Alright, you have 3 hours to find 3 scrolls that I've places around the whole village. He smiled wider, making it visible even in the dark. I'll see you at 6:30 am. And with that, the Jonin shunshined away, leaving his genin there, completely startled and vulnerable. He appeared at the top of the Hokage tower, yawning. This shouldn't be too hard of a task, right? Oh, who was he kidding? Telling genin to find 3 things in a huge village within 3 hours was pretty much impossible. Well, let's see if the prodigy, Top Kunoichi and Jinchuriki live up to Kakashi's expectations. Pipe / pipe. Right, so we found Yellow's scroll at Blue's house, Sakura recounted, and lost 2 hours already. We still have to find both Blue's and mine. Kakashi had appeared at the 1 hour mark to inform them of Lesson 8, always use code names on missions. And so they went with the most obvious ones, Yellow, Blue and Red. I still can't unseal it, Naruto pouted. How does he seal these things? We should be able to go to the Hokage now, it's 5:30 am. Sasuke pointed to the Hokage tower, where a light was on. I'll go. Naruto wagged a finger, I'll go because it's my scroll, and you two continue looking. I'll draw a chakra seal on you too, it's so I can locate you when I need to. Sakura huffed. I would decline, but this is urgent. No way. Sasuke shook his head, taking a step back. There is no way in hell will I ever let you do anything to me, Dobi. Lesson 7, Naruto reprimanded, we are shinobi. Under any circumstances, we will prioritize our missions. Okay, you don't need to become sensei, Sasuke hissed. And teammates and not our privacy or our personal preferences. Naruto continued, grinning. Now I get why Sensei does it. It's so satisfying when you guys listen to what I say. Naruto was currently drawing the same symbol he saw on the first scroll, which had their not Anbu uniforms in it, somehow sensing that it was a locating seal. But he definitely wasn't going to say it was a hunch, or else Sakura will pummel him into the ground and Sasuke will insult him for the rest of his life. Are you sure the seal works? Sakura looks at the orange chakra on the back of her hand. Because if it doesn't, we're screwed. Naruto nods confidently. I'm sure it'll work. We need to get going. Sasuke peers up at the sky, it's already 5:40 something. Let's go. Red. Hi. Blue-kun. Sakura easily bound after the Uchiha as soon as Naruto had finished drawing the seal on Sasuke's arm, before the Uzumaki ran towards the Hokage tower, feet silent thanks to the Anbu clothing design and looking like a real Anbu operative with his unnerving mask. Naruto remembered to knock before he entered and walked in with a scroll in hand. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow, before narrowing his eyes. You. Naruto. Gigi. Naruto grinned. Datbeo. The Sandaime shook his head, muttering, Kakashi was right, the uniforms do change the atmosphere. Huh? Naruto asked. Nothing. The man yawned. What are you doing here so early up? Sensei dragged us up at 3. Naruto shrugged, this is nothing. Now, do you know anything about seals, Gigi? Hiruzen nods. I know a thing or two. Can you unseal this? Naruto held his scroll forwards, and Hiruzen had to tell himself over and over again this was Naruto Uzumaki, not a new Anbu recruit. He looked scarily like one, which is probably what Kakashi was aiming for. The Sandaime inspected the scroll first, amused at the print script of Naruto U written on the side of the scroll, before turning his eye on the seal holding closed the scroll. Hiruzen's eyes almost bulged out of his socket. Uzumaki seals. No one studied that since the Yondaime's demise, and Minato only taught it to his living student. How did Kakashi want his genin to figure it out? Ah, so he wanted them to seek help. The Sandaime shook his head with a smile before unsealing the scroll and opening the scroll up to find 2 jutsus listed inside, along with the instructions on how to learn them. Interesting. Gigi, can I have it back? We're kinda on a time limit. Naruto said awkwardly. The Hokage chuckled, before handing it to Naruto. Have fun, child. It seems like placing Kakashi as your teacher wasn't a mistake. Datbeo. Naruto cheered. He's a good teacher and all, but I really need to go. I think Blue's found his scroll. And with that, Naruto disappeared, leaving the Hokage to his thoughts. So Kakashi had already drilled in code names, that was fast. Code names were usually taught to early Chunin. Well, that man was definitely whipping these children into shape. That's when Hiruzen realized, Naruto didn't once say anything about ramen or being Hokage. And he always does that. Once every 2 to 3 sentences, but this Naruto was solely focused on his mission. Hiruzen sighed, glancing out of his window and seeing a black-cloaked Anbu rushing towards 2 others wearing black cloaks. I wonder what Kakashi's doing which is so effective. Meanwhile, at the same time, Kakashi sat at his favorite store, the bookstore. The woman who owned the bookstore was an old friend, a veteran from the Third Shinobi War, but was crippled so she was no longer able to fight. But she was nice, gave Kakashi discounts and sometimes had Kakashi babysit her 2 children. Kakashi, Kurenai walked over, fancy seeing you over here. Kakashi raised a hand. Sup. He had expected both her and Asuma to come, having detected their chakra signatures, but wasn't surprised when Asuma parted ways to head towards the Nara estate. So, Kurenai sat opposite him. How's your team going? Kakashi didn't hate small talk, in fact, he liked it. It was a good opportunity to gain information discreetly. I think they're okay. It's 6 now, right? Correct. Kurenai yawns. I'm gonna wait until 8. Kakashi nods. That's good. You have the Hyuga, Inuzuka, and Aburame, if memory serves right. Yeah. Kurenai tugged at her sleeve. Do you have any tips on teaching? They're my first genin team, and I only recently got promoted to Jonin. So, our generation's golden boy, anything. Kakashi chuckled when she said, golden boy. That's what the people in their generation called him. Well, if it makes you feel better, my team's my first team too. I failed all the others. So I guess it's just conveying what you find is most important in being shinobi. Reet. Kurenai was unimpressed. What about Anbu recruits? You've definitely trained them. Kakashi grinned. The most fun I've had in my whole life. But that's different. You can drill anything you want into them, and they have to do it. But these are genin we're talking about. Damn, Kurenai grumbled, if only it was that easy. Kakashi hummed in agreement, his book discarded and his fingers were playing with the corner of the page he was currently reading. Oh, and right, I almost forgot to ask. Ask what? How's you and Asuma? Kurenai choked on air. What? Kakashi shrugged innocently. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who sees. There's nothing going on. Kurenai protested, shaking her head. Huh. Kakashi tilted his head. I'm pretty sure he asked you out but then your father passed so you declined. Are you sure there's nothing going on? Shut up. Golden boy. Kurenai glared at him, and he simply raised his hands in defense. There is nothing going on between us. Yet, Kakashi muttered, before standing up and slipping his book inside his newly changed vest, this time without blood on the back. Anyways, I'm going to check on how my genin are going. You asked for a tip. Watch your team when they think you're not around. You'll definitely pick up more weaknesses by doing that. Kurenai nods and thanks him, watching the tall Jonin walk off with a wave. She still admired him, of course, but not like she admired him as a child. She would deny to the ends of the earth that she was a fangirl, but now she admired him as the top Jonin and ex-Anbu commander. Pipe /pipe/pipe. I can't believe it, my scrolls at Ichiraku's. Sakura gaped, holding a scroll in hand, standing outside of the ramen stand. Sasuke thought carefully. Yellow's scroll was at my estate, yours is at Yellow's favorite restaurant, wouldn't that mean that my scroll is somewhere where you'll be a regular? Me. Sakura nods slowly. I guess so. Where would that be? Naruto asked, peering at Sakura. We only have 15 minutes left. 13, Sasuke corrected. I got it, Sakura exclaimed. Either the park, the mall, the clothes center, Ino's flower stall, the Nara's shogi place, or Cherry Blossom Lake. Her two teammates gape at her. You're kidding. Naruto couldn't find any other words. I'm reaching my clone limit already. The shogi place. Sasuke frowned. Even though his teammates couldn't see, they knew he was confused. You play shogi. So I'll go to the mall, my favorite store, Blue can go to the Cherry Blossom Lake, and Yellow and his clones go everywhere else. Sakura counts on her fingers, finishing off brightly. Naruto smiled weakly under his mask. I don't even know where all the other places are. Just summon them, Sakura orders. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Naruto scowled, forcing more of his chakra out. Unbeknownst to him, he was now using the Kyuubi's chakra, with the fox testing out to see what would happen if he lent some chakra out. And yes, the seal was slowly weakening due to the exchange, so Kurama bid his time, waiting and lending chakra to weaken the seal. Two clones appear, and Sakura shakes her head. I need another one. Naruto scrunched up his face and managed to muster up another clone before Sakura went into commander mode. Right, you're going to the clothes center, the Senju line. You're going to the park. You, go to Ino's store. And you, the real Naruto, will go to the shogi place. The three replicas of Naruto nod and sigh before rushing off, dressed in the white not Anbu uniforms, scaring a bunch of civilians and genin, who weren't used to see them. Since they had their black cloaks and hoods on, they were unidentifiable and it was awesome. There was no monster kid, or pitiful Uchiha, or rich girl to be envious about. Meet up at with sensei? Sasuke inquired. Sakura nods, and Naruto nods afterwards. The three of them split up, rushing to three different parts of the village, passing their fellow academy graduates, who had no idea who they were, simply staring at their weird uniform. Who's that? Ino asked, pointing to clone Naruto who slowed down at her flower store. I've never seen a uniform like that. Me neither, Asuma narrowed his eyes. But I've seen them run around all morning. If the Hokage thinks it's fine, then they shouldn't be too much of a threat. Shikamaru yawned. Let's just get training down, I want to go home. Asuma kept an eye on the weird black-cloaked short man who scouted about inside, but then he brushes past all the plants and glances back and forth, before shrugging and leaving. The Sandame's son couldn't help but think, suspicious behavior. Who just enters a store without doing anything but looking inside? Not to mention looking everywhere inside. What time is it? Choji asked, yawning. Asuma-sensei, why are we up so early? It's only 6:20, Asuma replied, not that early. Sometimes you'll have to get up even earlier. Not me, Shikamaru yawned again, they'll know not to wake me up or I'll kill them. Asuma smiled. Alright, first training session, Taijutsu. Let's run through the basic stances, I want them perfect at half speed by the end of the day. But 10 minutes later, Kakashi saunters onto the field, sitting underneath a tree nearby, waving at Asuma and pulling out his Ika Ika book. Asuma walked over, directing his genin to walk over too. What are you doing here, golden boy? Waiting. Kakashi smiles up at Team 10. Just ignore me. It's kind of hard, Shikamaru said, Hataki-san, when there's a bunch of Anbu weirdos coming for you. And true to the Nara's word, Team 7, dressed in their not Anbu clothing, was running at Kakashi, who looked up at the sky, squinting at the barely rising sun. It was winter, so the sun was terribly low. Sensei. All three of them arrive, bowing and out of breath. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Exactly on time. Good job. Now, let me see those scrolls. Sensei. Sakura held out 2 scrolls. Kakashi picked them up, twirling them in his hands. Where's the third one? All there of them shudder. We ran out of time, Sasuke answered for the team, biting down on his tongue so he doesn't say more than needed. Team 10, even Shikamaru, were surprised. Asuma cleared his throat. This is your Anbu team. Kakashi smiled brightly. My genin team. Little wretches, take your hoods and masks off. All three of them in sync throw their black hoods off to reveal their familiar colorful hair before they took off their masks, looking quite exhausted. Ino screeched. Sasuke-kun. Oh, which one of you were in my store? Naruto raised a hand sheepishly. Sorry, I was looking for a scroll. Well, it's time for lesson 9, never trust anything new, not patterns or anything you think you know. Kakashi snapped his book shut, holding up a finger. You believed that because Fox's scroll was at Emo's house and Brat's scroll was at Fox's favorite store does not necessarily mean anything. Want to know where the last scroll is? All three of them nod. Lesson 9. Never trust anything new or what we think we know, they chorus. It's at the hospital. Kakashi grins. Hospital. Naruto deadpans. But that has nothing to do with any of us. Exactly. Kakashi stood up, bonking all three of them on the head as punishment. I gave you 3 hours, you came back with 2 scrolls. The genin wins, waiting for a lecture or something of that kind. Kakashi beamed. Impressive, for you genin. Sakura let out a breath of relief. Do we have anything on now? Yes. Kakashi smiled, and sent a shiver down his genin's spines. You have 3 minutes to get the 3rd scroll and back here. Starting now. It's on the other side of the village. Sakura remembers. Ditch the cloaks. We'll never make it in time. Sasuke nods. I'll go ahead, Naruto, you run to about 2/3 of the way there, and Sakura, you stay at the first 3rd point. We'll do it like a relay. Change of plans, Naruto shook his head, I'll send my clones forwards, we can sprint for about 1/5 of the way each. Formation. Relay race. The 3 of them bolted, leaving a pile of their black cloaks, and a trail of dust. Asuma whistles. Effective, golden boy. I've told you to stop calling me that, Kakashi remarks offhandedly, settling back down on the ground and opening up Ika Ika. You should go train now. They'll be back in about 3 minutes. Asuma grins and ushers his team away, who was still processing the fact that Sakura didn't fangirl over Sasuke, who also didn't insult Naruto and provoke the blonde, and they actually worked together. You see that? Asuma flicked their foreheads. That's what we call teamwork. You might not have to like them, but you have to learn how to work well together with them. Ino growled. We're the next generation Ino Shikacho. We're gonna beat Forehead Girl in teamwork. Huh. Shikamaru nods sluggishly, sure thing. Whatever. Choji simply shoved more chips into his mouth, motivated. Asuma barks, get into those taijutsu formations. Kakashi watched as his comrade trained his team, noting how Asuma got a little head start. He didn't have to focus on teamwork, as it was already imprinted in those clans. Kakashi sighed, flicking through the lines of Ika Ika, his internal clock ticking away, counting slowly up to 180 seconds, and when it reached 140, Kakashi closed his book and stood up, stretching. 57 seconds later, a puffing Sakura arrived, holding out the scroll. Sorry, sensei. We didn't calculate the time we needed to find the scroll. That's fine. Kakashi took the scroll, it comes with experience. Now, wasn't that your first formation? Relay race, was it? Sakura beamed. Hi, sensei. Good idea, Kakashi mused, but won't work for long distance or unknown distances. It's good for inside Konoha. Sakura nods, and a puffing Naruto and Sasuke walked into the training grounds, gripping their sides. Naruto moaned, I need food. Breakfast seems like a miracle right now. That's the next task. Kakashi grinned. I want you all to go to Lightning Burger, the new store that opened 2 days ago, and I want you to convince the workers there that you're a totally different person. Sasuke would deny it, but he was tentative when he asked, any personality? No, he would not risk disrespecting the scariest person he's ever met, the Hokage included. Kakashi spread out his hands. Surprise me. But tell me your fake names first. Kikitsune. Naruto grinned. Datbeo. Yellow Fox. Kakashi chuckled. That's literal. Usagi. Sakura decided, Usagi Pinku. Rabbit Pink. Kakashi nods. Like your Anbu mask. Sakura smiled and traced the outline of her not Anbu mask, which was designed like a rabbit, whereas Naruto's was a fox and Sasuke's was a raven. Kaigen Karasu. Sasuke nods. Kakashi let out a small laugh. The yellow fox, pink rabbit, and navy raven. Nice. I'll see you after breakfast. Hi, sensei. The 3 genin chorus, bowing. When they straightened, the jonin was gone without a trace and a swirl of leaves was the only thing out of place. Kikitsune smiled at the owner of the restaurant, taking the role of the oldest brother. Team 7 had decided to try and impress Kakashi, creating characters totally different to who they are. Kikitsune, the responsible, mature and oldest brother, was the easiest to decide. Then it was Usagi, the, whatever, I don't give a crap about anything, punk girl, who had neon green highlights in her hair. And then it was Kaigen, who was the loving youngest child who thought his siblings were the best. Thanks so much, Kikitsune grins, ruffling the youngest family members, Sasuke's, blonde hair. The 3 of them agreed on the blonde hair as long as they complied with Sakura's green eyes and Sasuke's facial features. It ended up being a mesh of Uzumaki Uchiha Haruno, and to be honest, Naruto thought they looked quite different to their original looks. The woman smiles. You're our first child customer, of course we'd treat you with extra. Ani, Kaigen pouted, what did you order? Kikitsune winked at his brother. Secret. Usagi, stop it. To get into character, Sakura was psyching herself up by muttering swear words quickly like a rap and startling the other customers nearby, convincing the others already. Usagi peered up. You don't control me, baka. Kikitsune laughed awkwardly. Well, at least you're normal. Usagi crossed her arms, rolling her eyes. Well, at least you're still the same baka. Oni-chan. Kaigen whined, and the rest of his team had to bit down on their laughter. But the two were also impressed at his acting skills, that was way off usual Sasuke behavior. Here you go, the woman appeared before them, a bowl of pork cutlets, a bento box with sashimi, and an unagi rice bowl. Arigato. Kikitsune beamed. Itadakimasu. The other two genin were amazed at how their favorite dishes appeared before them, before realizing they had all confessed the night prior due to Kakashi's meet and greet session. Itadakimasu. Kaigen hollered like a child, before digging into his bento. Usagi sniffed. Meh. Itadakimasu. Don't be like that, Kikitsune reprimanded, say thanks. Usagi rolled her eyes but complied. Arigato. The woman laughed. You reminded me, where's your parents? It's unusual to see children just walking around, even if this is a shinobi village. The three genin all had their parts. Naruto was in charge of directing the conversation and setting up the whole look, Sasuke was to create the backstory and rat off anything a child would, and Sakura was to deflect anything they couldn't answer. It was perfect. They're going to the Hokage. Kaigen beamed, mouth full of rice. Something about getting us into some shinobi classes. Kikitsune chuckled, roughing his brother's hair again. Nice save, but shinobi. Not ninja. Yeah, they want us to learn self-defense. Usagi snorts, but Sakura knows not to overdo it, so she doesn't say anything and simply shoves another mouthful of eel into her mouth, before stealing one of Kaigen's salmon, playing the act of the mean big sister as Naruto jumped to Kaigen's defense and demanded she apologized. Nah, Usagi yawned, too much work. Let me eat in peace, Oni-chan. Kikitsune huffs, before sitting down to eat his pork cutlet bowls. It was his second favorite, after ramen, of course. It was when his usual was unavailable, curse Konohamaru for that, and he had to suffice for a pork cutlet ramen bowl. It instantly shot up his food list, and he's ordered it one in a while to break his usual ramen streak. Eat with your mouth closed, Kikitsune orders, flicking Kaigen's forehead, it's rude to eat with it open. Kaigen pokes his tongue out and rolls his eyes, before shoving more food inside. Sasuke was internally flinching at his horrendous table manners, but he was told to act like a child and was hanged as one, so he will. Suddenly, Sakura came up with a coughing fit, startling her two brothers, who mentally screamed, "That's not planned." While trying to figure out what was happening, she waved them off, trying to convey the fact that she was fine, but Naruto and his fan-like side appeared. Ah, he fretted, are you okay? You're not dying, are you? Sagi-chan. The rest of his team heaved a sigh of relief at Naruto's quick save before Sakura scowled at him when the coughing died down, eyes livid. I am perfectly fine. Now go back to eating and leave me alone. You almost tossed our mission out the window. Naruto could hear the underlying message, and gulped, sitting down. Oh, don't blame him, the woman smiled, which somehow unnerved Sasuke, but he kept it to himself. He's just worried about his sister, that's all. There was something off about this woman. Sasuke decided to investigate. Anyo, where do you come from? Naruto freaked. This was also not in the plan, and Sasuke was supposed to be the one saving them from questions and not asking them. Kaigen-kun. Oh, the woman waved a hand, we're travelers. We come from everywhere, really. Now Sakura was interested. Everywhere? Huh, what made you stay in Konoha, then? Was Sasuke and Sakura in some sort of secret plan they didn't tell Naruto about? What was this, a secret interrogation? Sagi-chan, apologize. I'm so sorry for their rudeness. No, the woman grins, I like straightforward kids. Reminds me of me in the old days. Now about your question, it's safe. Konohagakure is known to protect its citizens to the core, even if it means sacrificing their top shinobi. Now that's somewhere I want to stay. Really? Usagi yawns again, getting back into character. Boring. Are we finished yet? Can we go find our parents? Naruto sighed in relief, but made sure not to show it. Right. Sorry about the questions, they're just really curious. I really don't get them, Dadbao. I'll pay. Sasuke narrowed his eyes at the Dadbao. That was dangerous. What was Naruto thinking? But as the Uchiha watched as his brother paid the bill and ushered them out, he realized that Naruto didn't even remotely think he did something wrong, the word just rolling off his tongue. Sasuke cursed inside his head. They were bound to fail. Just as the three of them were about 100 meters away from the restaurant, Kakashi appeared from nowhere and clapped Sakura and Naruto on the shoulder, with Sasuke in the middle. So how'd it go? Naruto dispelled the henge. Great. That was. Kakashi didn't even hit him, it was Sakura. Great we completely flunked that. Kakashi nods gravely. I agree. You watched us. Sasuke shook his head, also dispelling the henge. Of course you did. This was a fail, Kakashi muttered. I guess I need to stop rushing everything. This was meant to open you up to your surroundings, and be able to easily read each other's social cues, even as posing as someone different. And I bet you didn't pick up on something about the waitress. Huh. Naruto squinted. There was something off. Yeah. Sasuke nods, she was hiding something. Something related to us, Sakura agreed, dispelling her henge. It was obvious. Now, Kakashi looked them in the eye. I asked her to keep an eye on you three. She's a retired doctor, a psychologist in fact. I worked with her long ago, just when the Third Shinobi War ended. Anyways, she was to give you clues on her being a suspicious person, and she did it perfectly, but none of you picked up on it until the last moment. Kakashi sighed. We're going to need to start from basics. I guess last night wasn't enough. Take a seat, kids. Team 7 had arrived at a park bench table, and slid into their seats, with Naruto and Kakashi on one side and Sakura and Sasuke on the other. Kakashi leaned forwards, placing his elbows on the table, and nods towards Sasuke. I have a question, Kakashi states, why are you no longer sniping at Brat? Sasuke didn't even need to ask which Brat Kakashi was talking about. Quote. I had a change of heart. Kakashi sighed. That sounds like a question to me. Sasuke runs a hand through his hair. He knows about everything about me. That's why. He can use that information to do anything, which means that he was blackmail me or trade. Do you really think I'll do that, Tem? Naruto stood up. Just because I argue with you doesn't mean I'll do something stupid like that. Oh yeah, well I can't predict the future. Sasuke retorts, standing up as well, crossing his arms. Can't you just trust me? Naruto pointed a finger at him. What's so hard about that? What's so hard about that? Sasuke sneered. You're known as the monster of the village, Dobi. Who'll trust you? I would. The two boys look at Sakura in disbelief, who had timidly entered their argument. Sakura looked up, green eyes suddenly sharp but warm at the same time. We're a team. Whether we like it or not, we have to work together. And to be honest, I don't think this team is so bad. We worked really well this morning, remember? Naruto grinned. Hell yeah, Dadbao. Kakashi nods, now the only person actually sitting down on the bench. Your team is like your family. Treasure them. Family, Sasuke snorts, is temporary. So are teams. Kakashi's eyes narrowed. Don't let one thing define your whole world, Uchiha. One thing. Sasuke let out a hollow laugh. Well, one person killed my whole family and left one alive, me. Naruto furrowed his brows. Well, at least you're liked. I have no family too and everyone hates me. Having a family who doesn't like you is worse, Sakura snapped, slamming her hand on the table. What do you understand about being neglected but still have the same high expectations as your golden brother? Enough. Kakashi's voice cut through, and all three genin stilled. What do you three know about hurt? I watched my best friend die in my place, my other teammate commit suicide via my hand, was ordered to retreat as my sensei fought in a battle and died along with his wife, being manipulated while I was grieving, and that's out of a list I could ramble on. Kakashi's eyes were steel. We all have our personal problems that we are burdened to hold. Now sit down, and we're going to have a heart-to-heart without me interfering. Hi. Sakura sat down, followed by Naruto. Sasuke stood there, in a daze, before slowly slumping into his seat. Kakashi nods. Go for it. Let it all out. I have a genjutsu around. No one else'll hear us. Sakura took in a deep breath. You know when I said I became a kunoichi to piss off my family? It's because my brother couldn't do it. He's the golden boy, I love him as my brother, but sometimes mother takes it too far. It's always Riku this, Riku that, and if he can't do something, it's too easy for him anyways and I'm just tossed aside like a ragged doll. Sakura cut herself off, her breathing becoming uneven as she ranted. Then she took a deep breath, and continued. Riku tried to become shinobi, simply because they were well respected and had a good build, but then he didn't graduate from the academy first try. Sakura looked upwards at the sky, smiling bitterly. Then mother ruled shinobi out, calling it a disgrace to all humans. That's wrong. Just because Riku Ani couldn't do it, doesn't mean it's a disgrace to all humankind. Sasuke nods slowly. So you become one to show your family that shinobi aren't bad. They hated me for the decision, Sakura murmurs, and I said, well you and your pretty little rules, I'm going to become the top kunoichi. You swore at your parents. Naruto gave her a thumbs up. Show 'em who's boss. Sasuke smiles faintly. You're not too bad, Haruno. Then her fangirl side flipped on. Really? Sasuke-kun. Thanks. Do you think? My story. Naruto bellowed over the top, and Kakashi winced. I may have a genjutsu on so it seems like it's just the wind and birds talking, Kakashi reprimands, but that doesn't mean I can cover up that. Quieten down, fox brat. Hi, sensei. Naruto bowed his head, before he cleared his throat. So, I'll start from the start. I dunno who my parents are. From when I was growing up, everyone hated me. And then I was 5, or was I 6, or 7? I can't remember. When Kyosuke and his gang appeared. I remember thinking they were drunk, so I hid, but then they were actually looking for me, and Naruto gulped, not going on to detail, but absent-mindedly rubs a scar on his neck. Still being dressed in not Anbu clothing, the rest of his team couldn't exactly see where the scar was, but had a pretty good idea. So then it started happening every night. Naruto shrugged. Sometimes he'd skip a night, but then it'll be worse the next night. Naruto smiled. When I was 8, Gigi took me out of the orphanage. That's where Kyosuke would find me every day, and gave me my own house. It was great. There was an actually bed and stuff, and now's it's better now that I know how to plumb a bit. The tap malfunctions once or twice a day, but that's nothing. But then, I think someone on my floor gave Kyosuke my address, so, yeah. End of story. That's. Sakura scooted over to give Naruto an awkward one-handed hug. Depressing. Naruto smiled brightly. Thanks, Sakura-chan. So do you think you can go out with me? We're going to talk about that behavior later. Kakashi cuts in, before looking pointedly at Sasuke, who huffs and turns away. I have nothing to say, Sasuke grumbles. You all probably know my story already. Naruto shook his head. Nah, I don't. What? You think you're so popular? Tem. Shut it, Sasuke growled. Fine. Let's get this over and done with. I went training one day, came back late, and found my whole clan dead. And then I walked into my house, and then Itachi stood there, with his shiny sword and red eyes and looked at me, and said, you're too weak to be killed. That bastard. Kakashi glanced up lazily. What did I just say about yelling? And Sasuke growls. He goes and says something about how I need to get stronger to even be able to face him, so I'm gonna show that son of a. Enough bad language, Kakashi interrupts, and I think we all get it. So there. None of you are shallow kids without an understanding of hurt, so help each other. What did emo brat say? Something about family being temporary, as well as teams. Sasuke looks away. Lesson 10. People are never as they seem. Take Sakura. When you first see her, She's a spoilt rich brat who pines helplessly after her classmate. But now that you've sit down and actually participated in a talk together, you can say she's more than that. Much more. Lesson 10. People are never as they seem. The genin chorus, eyes glancing at each other, taking in each other's stories. They were all surprised at the depth of emotion they all had. They should be. As 12-year-olds, they were still developing their emotions and maturity. But all three of them has had a burst of maturity in a time of need, and so they all act like young adults when they need to. Sensei, Sakura asked timidly, you didn't tell us your story. Kakashi smiled. I know. It's a story for another time, when you need to hear it. I know I've been giving you lessons, well, more likes rules to abide by, but here's our team motto. It's from my past, one of my teammates told me that. In the ninja world, those who break the rules are trash, that's true, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Understood. Naruto grinned. Datbeo. Sakura hesitantly agreed, and Sasuke kept quiet. Kakashi knew it would be easy for Naruto to abide by that, since he has no one to look after and care for, so to have a team is literally like having his first family which he'll protect like mad. But Sakura and Sasuke both know the pain of their family betraying and hurting them, so they'd be cautious before giving their hearts out. Kakashi smiled. Who said it was a short process? At least he planted the seed. All he needs to do now is nurture it until it can grow on its own. Now, Kakashi clapped his hands and the genjutsu dissipated. Your next training session. What? Naruto gasped. Already? It's only 8. Kakashi nods. We have a whole day in front of us. If you're lucky, I'll let you guys off early today. Woo! Sakura stood up, rolling her shoulders back and forth. Alrighty sensei, what's next? Kakashi grins. Your first mission. It's D rank, of course. The Jonin already knew what he was going to pick, let's hope they survive the cat chase. Pipe //pipe /pipe. Yellow, in position, point A. Blue, in position, point C. Red, in position, point B. Good. Commence operation. Kakashi lounged at the top of a tree, his shadow clones tailing his students secretively. He kept a watchful eye out for any white movement, his students still in not Anbu gear. Kakashi's decided, it was going to be Team 7's official uniform. But it would be hard to wash blood off white, but the material is easy to wash. After all, they used it in Anbu missions all the time. Yellow, missed. Red, missed. Blue, contained the target. Good job wretches, come back to the starting point. The 3 students tossed off their hoods. Kakashi instructed them not to take their masks, that would raise too many suspicions, and sighed in relief as Sasuke walked out of the trees, the squirming cat Tora in Sasuke's hands. Kakashi grinned. That's a record. You must be the first genin team to capture her on your first try. Kakashi ruffled up Sasuke's hair and flicked Naruto's forehead. Who told you to move so suddenly? You'll freak the cat out. Gomen, Naruto said sheepishly. Though we completed the mission. Let's bring it back to Lord Daimyo's wife, Sakura says, and Kakashi mentally notes to tell her to either cut that stupidly long hair or tie it up. She'd probably tie it up, but it's better than have it flying around everywhere and could impair her own vision. Go for it. Kakashi squints at the sky. I'll have to take that. Meet back here in 15 minutes. Hi. The genin disappear with their hoods back on, the black cloaks giving them a serious look. A hawk descends from the sky and lands snugly on Kakashi's outstretched arm. The Jonin clicks his tongue. You're getting a bit too comfy there, Shimei. The hawk ruffled its own feathers, holding out its left leg where a scroll was tied to it. Kakashi took it, unsealing it before opening it up. Shimei took refuge on Kakashi's shoulder, squawking tiredly. Kakashi's eyebrows shot up. A new mission for him. Investigating this man called Gato because he publicly executed a man. Didn't the Sandaime know already that he was too busy teaching his genin? Sighing, the Jonin made a sigh and called, Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 2 copies of himself appeared. What do you need? One asked. Kakashi rolls his eyes. You know. You. Find info. You. Keep an eye on this Gato dude. Hi. Both clones saluted before disappearing, and Kakashi cursed. Now he was going to have to teach Genin while leaking chakra out at a daily amount. This wasn't anything new, but if the Sandaime wanted results and fast, he'd have to give Kakashi's time and no missions, which is pretty much an impossible thing to do. Oi! Kakashi poked Shimei, go back to the Hokage. Kakashi bit his thumb and swiped his blood straight through the mission scroll, before rolling it back up and tying it back onto Shimei's foot. Don't be late. He might let you rest once you get back. The hawk squawked loudly and took off, with Kakashi watching it until it was out of sight. Kakashi then thought to himself. He needed to get these Genin to Chunin standard by the end of next week. So how was he going to do this? They needed to be proficient in taijutsu, and have at least 2 jutsus in their chakra affinity and 1 in the opposite. Oh, and a personally selected type. They also needed to be able to work as a team flawlessly, as well as getting closer to choosing their specialized areas. Oh, and also survival skills and learning how to sleep with their minds still active and being able to run for days without sleep. Nah, that's Jonin, but it's good to learn while they're young. To get 12-year-olds to Chunin level within 14 days was hard. Kakashi grinned. He liked a challenge. He knew it was going to be challenge when the Sandaime ordered for him to pass Team 7, but this was going to be fun. Oh wait. They also need less obvious code names, as well as the number 7 etched on their cloaks so the Anbu wouldn't be confused and the rest of the shinobi knew who they were. Not to mention Kakashi needed to work on their mental emotions and thoughts as well. The Jonin yawned. This was hard, being a Jonin sensei. Meh, but it was fun, and Kakashi was already proud at the fact that his team, probably the team that started off with the worst teamwork, now had the best teamwork out of all the Genin teams. It was also a bragging right to the other Jonin senseis. Sensei. Kakashi looked back and saw his 3 students running towards him. They also need to work on their speed. There's so many things, and so little time. Then another thing popped into Kakashi's mind. They needed their aliases, their second personalities, and another profession other than shinobi. Kakashi was also Sukeya, a photographer, as well as using his self-taught cooking skills to add to that image. He needed to get the kids to decide to pick something else up, not just being a shinobi. Mission report. Sakura grinned. Sakura Haruno, 012601, Genin. Naruto Uzumaki, 012607, Genin. Sasuke Uchiha, 012606, Genin. Sakura beamed. Mission success. Kakashi patted their heads. Good job. This was your first mission. Now, let's go home. I've got some taijutsu training for you all on the way back. Naruto, I want you to create 3 clones. On the way back, I want you all to piggyback one. Sensei? Sasuke asked, looking uncertainly at the Naruto clone who stood in front of him. The clone grinned. I'm not that heavy, Dadbeo. Lesson 5, Kakashi reminded. Never question you or your methods, Sasuke hissed, before allowing the clone Naruto to get on his back. Oh, you're right, you're not that heavy. Kakashi grinned and undid the metal bracelets he had on his hand and placed them around each clone Naruto's hand, making all 3 genin drop down to the ground with surprise. These are weights. About 7 kilos each. Have fun. Pipe / pipe. How is everything going? The Sandaime asked, sitting at his desk. Kakashi nods absent-mindedly. Yeah, it's okay. Is something wrong? Why do you have more Anbu than usual? Hiruzen chuckled. Nothing gets past you these days. You didn't answer my question. Kakashi pointed out. An Anbu operative appeared. Shunshined. Kakashi thought. Hokage-sama fainted the other day, it's a precaution, Hound-sama. I'm not in the Anbu anymore. Kakashi smiled. Geez, just call me Hataki. And you fainted, Sandaime-sama. Is your old age getting to you or something? The Anbu was about to say something about disrespect, Everyone knows that the Hokage is old, but no one says it, but the Sandaime simply chuckles. It's been getting to me since I was 50. Now, about the training, is it okay to give you a mission in the middle? Kakashi shrugs. What mission? It's connected to your Gato 1. Hiruzen holds out a file, and dismissing the Anbu operative who shunshined away. Kakashi's eyebrows raise as he skimmed over the text. An escort mission back to the land of the waves, C rank. Don't you think that's too high? Tazuna's off, the Hokage simply said. Kakashi nods slowly, before rolling up the scroll and placing in his Jonin vest. We'll take it. It's this Friday, isn't it? Correct. The Sandaime put the pipe to his mouth. You have 3 days. They'll be ready by then, Kakashi nods. Hiruzen locks eyes with his right-hand man. They better be. The council's getting restless because I've been giving them mere D ranks. The council. Kakashi cursed. Those retired hags know nothing. The Sandaime shrugged, before nodding at Kakashi. We really need those kids up to the standard. Konoha's becoming somewhat of a target no. There's rumors that the newest village, Otogakure and Sunagakure are discussing an invasion during the Chunin exams. We'll be in the Chunin exams too, Kakashi reassures the older man. The Hatake knew that Hiruzen wasn't the type of person just to bring up with a rumor without concrete information, so he must have sent a spy somewhere. This wasn't reassuring. Kakashi really needed those kids at Chunin, and fast. Naruto grunted. Tiger, boar, ox, dog, snake. He closed his eyes and thought to the kunai he had stuck in the tree nearby and opened his eyes to see himself right next to the tree, and the kunai in his place. Woo! Finally! He cheered. Kawarimi no jutsu complete. The boy furrowed his brows again, his hands practicing the jutsu movements. Kawarimi no jutsu. Naruto reappeared in his former spot, before looking down at his scroll. Next, was a jutsu for his chakra affinity. That morning, Kakashi had dragged his genin out of bed, pleasantly surprised that they were wearing their Team 7 uniform and were sleeping in it, and then he shoved their scrolls they had retrieved a couple days earlier before being told to look through them. They were all practicing the substitution jutsu at the start. What are they teaching you at the academy these days? Back when I was in there, we were already learning D ranks, before they would learn 2 jutsus in their chakra affinity. Futon. Daitapa. Naruto squinted at the scroll. Wind release. Great breakthrough. Tiger, ox, dog, rabbit, snake. Huh. Tiger, ox, dog, rabbit, snake. Futon. Daitapa. Naruto bellowed, inhaling and exhaling a huge gust of wind. Kakashi had written as a side note on the scroll that results may vary, so if you got a huge gust, then your chakra reserves were large too. Naruto grinned. Well, that's great. Glancing down, he looked at the scroll again. If you got a huge gust, which is my guess, I want you to control it and get a medium and small gust. Hatake. Naruto blinked. Did he sign off with a scarecrow? Futon. Daitapa. A small breeze came out of Naruto's mouth as he narrowed his vision. The way he controls chakra was imaging it as a tunnel with a one-way exit, and narrowing down the tunnel meant smaller amounts of chakra. Before Kakashi had let them train by themselves, he had, at 5 am, sat them down in a circle and told them to do chakra meditation. He told them to visual what they thought chakra was, and told them to contain it and focus on drawing it in and out. Chakra meditation was perfect for beginners to control their chakra to its core, and so when all 3 of them got the hang of it, Kakashi shooed them off to go learn their jutsus. Naruto grinned. Now let's make it as big as possible. Woo. Futon. Daitapa. A huge gust similar to a hurricane's strength erupted from Naruto's mouth and ripped across the training ground, completely destroying one side of training ground 3. Kakashi appeared instantly, a kunai spinning in his hand, though the Jonin had a good idea of what happened. Sorry, sensei, Naruto said sheepishly, I wanted to make it as large as possible. Kakashi sighed, tucking the kunai away. You can never be too careful. Fine. Next time I'm setting you on training ground 17. What about the trees? Naruto's eyes widened in horror. I don't have to plant every single tree, right? Kakashi chuckled, crossing his arms. No, I have a friend who can do that. Now, show me your Kawarimi. Naruto grinned. Kawarimi no jutsu. Kakashi's smile strained. He didn't have to yell out the jutsu name, but it looked so normal for Naruto that Kakashi decided that this one time he'd let it slide. Next time, he'd definitely crack down on that. Sensei. Naruto bellowed, from where he substituted with a broken branch. He was pretty far away, but Kakashi and his extreme dog-like senses could easily smell which direction Naruto was yelling from. Kakashi held up a hand. Good job. Move on to the next one. And disappeared, shining away. Naruto's hands flashed in movement before he reappeared in his old spot, the broken branch back where it was supposed to be. Huh, Naruto mused, Sensei has a friend to grow trees. Aren't I lucky? He'll most likely kill me if he didn't. The next jutsu. Naruto's eyes bulged out. AB rank. Now this was interesting. Futon. Shinkaha, and it did a lot of damage. Down in the corner, Naruto saw Kakashi's handwriting and quickly read that first. Each of you are getting a purely offensive jutsu, and they can fatally harm others. This is to be used in emergencies only, for example, when a teammate is about to die, or you are about to die. It can kill many people within a range, especially those extremely close to you. This must not be your first choice of a jutsu when in a dire situation. Otherwise, have fun learning it and make sure you don't hit anyone while practicing. Hataki. Naruto hummed to himself. Rat, snake, horse, dog. It wasn't hard to remember. Then he looked down at the next instructions, scrunching up his forehead in confusion. So he needed to spin around while doing the hand seals. Meh, whatever. Naruto was excited. He just wanted to try this out. Rat, snake, horse, dog. Naruto exhaled, as he spun on the spot, and was just about to see the results when he slipped while spinning and landed on his face, eating dirt. I guess I should practice spinning first, Naruto mumbled into the ground, groaning. I just wanna break some stuff. Pipe // pipe / pipe. Sakura, on the other hand, had easily gotten down the Kawarimi under her belt, as she had studied all E-rank jutsus. Her chakra control is the best out of the whole team, but her reserves are the lowest. Kakashi wanted to give her one that would change due to the amount of chakra she uses, to help her build up her reserves. Doden. Ritsudo Tensho. She muttered, finding it easier to focus on her control if she whispered the jutsu name. She slammed her hand on the ground, forcing at least half her chakra out, pouring it into the ground, and between her and the 10-meter mark, the ground broke up into pieces, overturning and flipping over like they were broken ice blocks in a sea of water. Sakura collapsed on the ground, heaving gigantic breaths. Frick, I can't do this. She groaned, falling onto her back, her chest rapidly rising and falling. A familiar face flashed past her eyes, and Sakura grit her teeth and forced herself to sit back up. She was going to show her parents that shinobi weren't disgraces and their whole world shouldn't be centered around just Riku. Sakura loved her mother and father, really, she really did, but sometimes they were too narrow-minded to see anything other than their perfect son. Alright. Sakura stood up shakily. I'm gonna show mother and father how's it's done. Doden. Ritsudo Tensho. She had bellowed the jutsu name, forcing as much chakra as possible into this jutsu, and for about the next 20 meters, the ground was upturned and the width was about another 25 or so meters. Sakura grinned, feeling exhausted. That was great. Training ground 9 was perfect for her. It was literally a field of grass about 200 meters wide and long, giving her huge amounts of space for her earth jutsus. Kakashi appeared beside her, noting the dangerous turning rocks before turning to his student. How's everything going, brat? Well, sensei. Sakura gave him a tired thumbs up. Though, I may have used up almost all my chakra. Kakashi sighed. Kids never learn to keep some as reserve. Now, did you try the B rank one already? Hi. Sakura smiles, that one's creates a lot of damage. She points to a crater behind her, and Kakashi whistles appreciatively. This training session was going almost too well. All of them were progressing at a superhuman speed. You're doing pretty well, Kakashi praises. Take a small break. Maybe focus on mastering Kawarimi so you can substitute almost subconsciously. Hi, Sakura grins, before flopping on the ground. Gimme 5 first. Kakashi chuckles, tossing her a bottle of water before disappearing, leaving Sakura in the blinding hot sun. The girl was already sweating from the extensive use of chakra, and now she had to deal with the heat. She tiredly commanded, Doden, Dorio Dango. By using mostly her physical strength, Sakura pulled out a chunk of the ground and placed it carefully next to her, straining her muscles, before huffing and sitting behind it, relishing in the huge shadow it cast. Maybe she could just close her eyes for 5 minutes. Pipe // pipe / pipe. Sasuke wasn't tired. Not yet. He was debatably the most chakra-efficient person in Team 7 bars their sensei. Of course, with his reserves much larger than your usual genin but smaller than a Jinchuriki from activating his Sharingan since he was young, but never really used it. His control was also better, but it was practiced. He spent most of his time at home doing chakra meditation. He suddenly flickered and reappeared beside a boulder, before muttering, Dendo Hari Hyirigari no Jutsu. Sasuke went through his taijutsu forms at 3/4 of the full speed, while focusing chakra onto his front, where electric needles slowly grew, and when Sasuke was satisfied with its length, shot the lightning needles towards the boulder, carefully aiming for the X's he had scratched on earlier. He nailed all of them. There, he stopped his taijutsu, taking deep breaths in. After a whole hour, I got it. Now he was moving on to the second jutsu. Regardless of what others say, the Uchiha was a perfectionist. Have a jutsu your sensei gave you. Must nail it before moving on. Flicking open his scroll, Sasuke nodded slowly as he read the description and instructions that were handwritten on, with obvious scribbles here and there. That made it obvious that Kakashi was a lightning affinity too, with tips on how to reduce the amount of chakra needed for the lightning jutsu, and that came merely with experience. Raiden. Jian. Sasuke opened his mouth, forming the snake seal, and a bolt of lightning shot out of his mouth, very similar to a laser. Sasuke was also thrown backwards due to the impact, and landed awkwardly on his back. Hissing in pain, the Uchiha stiffly sat up, rubbing his hip. Now this was perfect. Any offensive jutsu was welcome into his arsenal. He could show off to Itachi before wiping off that smug smile off of the older Uchiha's face. Though I get why it's B rank, Sasuke winced as he stood up. The Force, let's do that again. Raiden. Jian. Kakashi watched from afar as he saw his lightning affinity student being flung around training ground 22, which was a concrete padded floor and random boulders stationed around the field, perfect for lightning affinity shinobi. All 3 of them were incredibly skilled, and their adaptability to their new training ground was astounding. Kakashi hasn't seen anyone other than some of his outstanding Anbu recruits pick up new jutsus that quickly. Kakashi looks down at the scroll in his hand. It had a big C printed on it. Unraveling it, Kakashi rereads for about the 43rd time, the mission about the escort to the land of waves. Apparently Tazuna had wanted protection as soon as possible, but the Sandaime had responded saying that their shinobi ranks were deteriorating and that he had to wait for about a week. It wasn't exactly the truth, but Kakashi knew that more and more people were joining Anbu or retiring, which results in less and less normal Jonin, which leaves most of the missions to Chunin and Genin. On Tuesday, which was the first official training day, Kakashi had the Team Chakra meditate after arriving back at Konoha, also asking Naruto to dispel his clones. On Wednesday, Kakashi dragged them out of bed at 4 am, mad at the fact that none of them slept in their gear. He then had to explain that Lesson 6 also extended to sleeping. Then, for the whole morning until lunch, they ran through their taijutsu forms at half speed, before increasing it to full speed with Kakashi as a ruthless instructor. Again, at lunch, They were ordered to henge as the opposite gender and convince the staff at Yakiniku Q that they were really who they pretended to be, which they finally succeeded at. Then after lunch, they took another D rank, doing the housework of a particularly rich family. Kakashi told them they could only use one arm and one leg, and the three of them ended up leaning on each other for support. Dinner. PFF'd. What's that? Team 7 went straight into the tree walking exercise as soon as they arrived home at 7 p.m., skipping dinner and going to sleep at 11, only to be woken up by Kakashi at 5 am. Which brings us to Thursday, today. It was currently 11 am, and at 11:30, Kakashi was going to call all his students back, deciding to let the three have a normal meal. Then maybe work on Sakura's taijutsu, Sasuke's Sharingan and introduce Naruto to the information on the Kyuubi after dinner. But now he was mentally tallying the jutsus each student had. They had all learnt the basic clone, Naruto knows the shadow clone, they could all use fabric of some kind to blend into the background, as well as untie themselves from a bound state, but not bound by Kakashi's standards, so he needs to work on that. Oh, and of course, henge. Then they each had 2 of their chakra affinity jutsus. They should learn a genjutsu each, but that would come afterwards. They need to perfect their current jutsus now, before their mission tomorrow. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. He needed to test them. Pipe / pipe. Right. Kakashi appeared behind the 3 genin. How's lunch? They were now used to it, even if it has only been 2.5 days since they first met Kakashi. Sakura smiled. It's good. Aren't you going to eat lunch, sensei? Kakashi shook his head. I already did. Ate some dango with a couple of other jonin. What's on after lunch? Sasuke asked, shuffling around on his seat. Naruto was too busy stuffing his face with ramen, as Sakura and Sasuke had let Naruto drag them to Ichiraku's, after finding out they're able to pick the place they want to eat at. Kakashi smiled. Now that's a secret. I watched you all train this morning, good job on your new jutsus. Have you told each other your jutsus yet? Nope. Sakura eyed Naruto warily, he's too busy talking the heavens about ramen. Naruto smiled, giving a huge thumbs up as he slurped up the noodles. But it's good, right? Sakura nods, a small smile on her face. Yeah, I guess. Now, Kakashi held up a hand. Lesson 12. Always exchange information when you have time. It's astounding how much of a difference it can make if you know your allies' skills. All 3 genin nod. Lesson 12. Always exchange information when you have time. I'll give you, Kakashi hummed, about 10 minutes. As soon as Kakashi finished talking and turned around to leave, he heard Sakura ask what the boys had learned and offer to tell them her jutsus. Kakashi smiled to himself, pulling out Ika as he walked down the street. Might as well spend 10 minutes with Obito, Rin and Minato sensei if he had the time. At the same time as he shunshined away, his genin team was quickly and efficiently exchanging information, taking Kakashi's lesson also as a warning. Sasuke nods slowly. Right, so Dobi has the ability to create a gust of wind, the strength customizable. You can also spin on the spot and create blade-like gusts as your emergency jutsu. The 3 of them referred to their destructive jutsu as their emergency jutsu, having read the warning, and decided only to use it when in an urgent situation. Naruto nods. Yup. And Sakura-chan can turn the ground into blocks and also pick up a gigantic chunk for emergency. Yeah. Sakura blushed and tucked a pink strand of hair behind her ear as she turned to Sasuke. You can create electric needles and shoot out lightning lasers as your emergency. Correct. Sasuke breathed a sigh of relief. I have a feeling what we're doing next will test that. Sakura nods, but then eyes her food. I'd recommend not eating a lot, just a hunch. Sasuke makes a sound in agreement, before placing down his chopsticks. Naruto, however, disregarded the warning until Sakura snatched his chopsticks off of him and started to reprimand the blonde as Sasuke hesitantly paid the bill, not knowing if he should or not. But Chuki simply smiled and brushed the Uchiha off, saying that, any friends of Naruto's are ours and letting them go. Let's hope Naruto digests quickly, Sakura muttered just as they were about to leave, not surprised at all to see Kakashi leaning against a wall nearby with Ika in hand. He looks up as soon as they exit, and smiles reassuring, which somehow sends a shiver down his student's spine, despite the friendliness of it. Now, Kakashi grins, we're going to have trail battle. Against me. Here. Sakura was instantly in a defensive mode. Kakashi grins. Lesson 11. He sang. Sasuke cursed, leaping and flipping backwards to gain space between him and his sensei. Lesson 11. Always assume something is happening at that exact moment, unless otherwise told. Sakura and Naruto split ways, with the girl going to the right and the boy going to the left. Kakashi nods, satisfied. Good job. Now, I'm going to be a Chunin. The Jonin now turned Chunin leapt forwards for Sasuke, who engaged his sensei in a taijutsu match, though it was evident after trading blows who was superior. Sasuke grunted as Kakashi's fist connected with his stomach, throwing the Uchiha backwards. Kakashi was relentless, throwing punch after punch, but refrained from shining. As they fought, Sakura and Naruto met up at the park, which was only just down the road. We need to get Sensei and Sasuke to a training ground, Sakura comments, to make sure no one else is caught in the crossfire. Naruto nods, and not ground 22 either, because Sensei's a lightning affinity. Sakura hums. You can do the most damage as a wind affinity, so we have to move to ground 3. Sure. Naruto grins. But how are we going to move them? Sakura murmurs, before her eyes set on something. That could work, but she couldn't underestimate her sensei. She knew that the Jonin was holding back and fighting like a Chunin for a reason, so she turned to Naruto, telling her plan. The two teammates snuck around the blocks, before coming to a stop, right behind a fighting Kakashi and Sasuke. Sasuke was obviously concentrating hard, but Kakashi looked more at ease but let small mistakes come through, giving Sasuke some chances to get through his guard. Kakashi caught Sasuke's roundhouse kick and pulled the boy in to give him a flick on the forehead with a smile before pushing the Uchiha away, making him lose his balance. Wow. Naruto whistled, I get why he's being Chunin. We'll never beat a Jonin. Not like this, Sakura agrees, before pulling out a bag of soft items. She looked at Naruto. You know what to do, right? Naruto gave her a thumbs up. Datbeo. Futon. Datapa. A medium breeze came from Naruto, enough so that when Sakura opened her pouch, all of the leaves flew out in the wind, flying slowly towards the taijutsu duo. Naruto's hands flashed again, before he muttered another jutsu. Multiple Narutos appeared, and they all in sync called, Henge. Now hanged as leaves, they easily blended in with horde of leaves that Sakura had collected. Thankfully, many people had seen to evacuate the area due to Kakashi and Sasuke, so now they didn't need to worry about, but the buildings and belongings. Sakura charged from behind, unknowingly infusing chakra into her fist, yelling, Cha! She had punched Kakashi, who pretended to be taken by surprise. Please, he tracked their chakra ever since he announced they were going to fight, and Sasuke clenched a fist of Kakashi's vest as they flew with a chakra-infused punch towards training ground 3. Good idea, Kakashi grinned, before twisting around so that Sasuke was on spot to get the most damage. Sasuke grunted, kneeing his sensei in the stomach, and Kakashi gasped softly before chuckling. Playing like that, are we? No rule saying we can't. Sasuke let go of Kakashi, pushing off the Chunin and yelled, Go! The leaves which had somehow ended up around Kakashi morphed back into Naruto clones, all armed with kunai. Kakashi grinned. Good. You guys are working well together. Kakashi expertly dodged all of Naruto's clumsy attacks, before mentally noting to work on Naruto's taijutsu. He was sloppy at best. But what Chunin Kakashi did not expect, was to see Sakura already at ground 3, now that was fast and unexpected, and somehow was waiting for them to land. All the clone Narutos winked and blinked out of existence, leaving Kakashi alone in the air, falling at a fast speed. Kakashi debated doing a wind jutsu to minimize injuries, but acting like a chunin restricted that. No chunin can do a jutsu of their worst nature. He instead opted to land in a roll, but his Jonin mind screamed for him to do something else, anything else, because he knew what was going to happen. Cha! Sakura bellowed, slamming her hand on the ground, upturning the area where Kakashi estimated to land, making it extremely dangerous to land. He smiled proudly. They're getting there. They're getting to the Chunin level. But the one problem, they didn't account for Kakashi's jutsus. Specifically, his shadow clones. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Kakashi multiplied and used one clone in the middle and pushed off of it, landing swiftly outside of Sakura's rock-turning area. His other clones did the same, resulting in 5 clones around his genin and one who died from landing in the rock. Good try, Kakashi nods, you all worked together. He sensed chakra coming from behind, but small amounts in a lot of them. He flipped over some, dodged some, but let some chakra hit him, and smiled to himself as he felt a sting in the area he got hit started to feel numb. Sasuke stood there, puffing, arm outstretched and pointing to Kakashi. Damn it, I thought the electric needles would work. Good, Kakashi grins, but you forgot, I've got experience with zapping myself with electricity. And just as Kakashi landed easily on the ground, he caught Naruto's foot swinging for his face while also swinging out a leg to unbalance Sakura, who attempted to creep up behind him. Sakura stumbled backwards as Naruto lost his balance. Sakura grit her teeth and was about to charge when one of the clone Kakashis appeared. Kuso. Sakura hissed, dodging clone Kakashi's attacks. You're good. Clone Kakashi I smiled. I am your sensei and a chunin, whereas you are a genin, even if I am a clone. Sakura was so focused on dodging the fast attacks that she didn't realize until she fell straight into another clone Kakashi's hands. The two clones grinned at each other, right before Naruto let out a yelp and was flung towards them, and the clone who was fighting Sakura easily caught the genin. Thanks. The clone yelled, to which another clone across the field waved. Sakura huffed, deflating. We're never going to beat you. Kakashi shrugged. So. Then Sakura's eyes went wide. Naruto. The dazed genin looked clumsily around. Sakura huffed, squirming in clone Kakashi's iron grip. What do you do if you know you're going to low? Kakashi placed a hand over her mouth. Naruto blinked, before looking up at his own clone which held him captive. Oh, Kakashi echoed, glancing down at the blonde genin he had in his arms. Naruto closed his eyes, and snapped them open with a growl. Let go of me. Kakashi blinked. Then he realized. If not, I'm going to release the seal on my stomach and. Clone Kakashi acted quick, acted like a chunin. He dropped the Uzumaki and leapt a couple of feet away, kunai in hand. The clone smiled. Of course. That was smart, on both of Sakura and Naruto's account. Naruto growled at the other clone. Let go of her. The two clones took a couple of jumps back, crouching defensively. Good. Sakura grinned. Bluffing. Now we grab blue and run. Run. Naruto repeated. We're never going to win, so. Speak softer, Sakura. A clone called out, before darting forwards. Cursing, Sakura glanced around before making a hasty sign and substituted with a flying leaf in the air to their left, and Naruto panicked and summoned more clones. Both clones rushed forwards, powering through all the clones, but in the end, Naruto had already substituted out of the place, and when the two clones looked up, they were dispelled. The real Kakashi stood with Sasuke being held upside down from the ankle, grinning at the two genin who ran towards them. Gaining the memories of his clones, Kakashi nodded, satisfied. Good. Brat. Good thinking. Fox. Nice acting. Arigato, sensei. The two of them say in sync. But, Kakashi glanced at Sasuke, who had his arms crossed and was dangling in the air. What about this emo brat? Probably ditch me. Sasuke sighed, it's the ideal. No. Naruto shook his head, we'll come back for him. Teammates, right. Kakashi dropped Sasuke gently, flipping the boy so he landed on his feet. Good. Very good. Your jutsu use is improving, and none of you used your emergency, which is good. Now, I want you three to learn how to manage your chakra even better. I'll tell you why when you sit down to chakra meditate. The three genin settled down slightly awkwardly as they moved around their various small cuts and bruises. Uchiha. The boy looked up. Those electric needles are good. But, you used too much chakra to prepare them. You had about double amount actually needed for the needles, but since you had to manage them all in the one spot, you pushed too much into the one area. Not only will that make it obvious that you're going to launch an attack from the front, but it can also impair your own ability to fight. Hi, Uzumaki. Sensei. Those clones. Nicely done, much better than before. But, you summoned too many. And that was too much chakra in the air, and any decent chunin would have a good sensory 1 to 2 meter range. Those leaves were a nice touch, but you really only needed 2 or 3 clones. Not 6. I'm guessing the plan was spontaneous, which lead to you not focusing enough to control your chakra. Hi, Haruno. Hi, Sensei. The chakra-infused punch. Well done. It uses explicit chakra control, which is something that you're getting close to. However, you can probably feel it, but you've most likely dislocated most of your joints in your hand. Chakra-laced attacks needs extreme concentration and control, which you underestimated. Otherwise, I would have never expected it to come. Hi. Good. Now the three of you meditate as I get a medical nin over. Hi. A mission. Sasuke looked at the scroll. To the land of waves. Naruto grinned. It's AC rank. Yes. Tazuna stood there, annoyed. He had asked for protection ASAP, but had to wait a couple of days, and end up with children. Are you sure these twigs can protect me? With all due respect to Zuna-san, Sakura beams were quite adept at being shinobi, and since this is a mere C rank, we should be fine. Tazuna turned a critical eye on the girl, but received 2 glares from the boys and shrunk back. Kakashi smiled. Well, we'd better get going. The earlier we leave, the earlier we can come back. Hi, Sensei. The 3 genin chorused. Kakashi turns to Tazuna. Give us half an hour to pack our gear. We'll meet at Konoha's front gate. Whatever, Tazuna grumbles, turning around and stomps out of the Hokage office. Hira's inside. He's an old fellow, don't be too hard on him. The genin nods slowly, about to leave when Kakashi held up a hand. Now, is there anything you've picked up? Sasuke nods. There's something off about his behavior. It's suspicious. Gives me the wrong vibe. Kakashi nods. And what does that mean? Pack extra. Naruto mutters, especially ninja tools and extra pairs of clothes. Bring lots of chakra too. Sasuke snorts. I wish we could bring extra chakra. It's not actually AC rank. Sakura says over the top of them, cocking her head to the side. It's most likely we're not supposed to meet enemy shinobi, but we might. Kakashi grins. Good job. Do what Naruto says, pack extra and don't use chakra unless you have to. Now, I want you to wear your old clothes with the cloaks on top. If we do run into enemies, it's better they underestimate you than overestimate. Hi, Sensei. And with that, all 3 of them leaves via the window, leaping down the tower and landing lightly on the roofs of the houses underneath. The Sandame sighs, giving Kakashi a pointed look. The Jonin shrugged innocently. The window? Really? The Hokage asked, amused. It's convenient, Kakashi defended, and it's good for training. The Sandame chuckles. That's true, but annoying for the person who owns the window. Now, I'd like a mission update on your Gato mission. Kakashi nods. My first clone was defeated quickly as its sensory abilities are dull, but my second one's still reporting. Gato's locking himself in his room regularly from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., not coming out for the whole 3 hours. No one goes in either. He's been hiring shinobi, Nukenin, and I think there was a rumor about hiring Zabuza Momochi, one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. His goal is to control the land of waves, while also gaining an impressive income. I have a feeling that our Tazuna escort mission has something to do with that. What if you run into Momochi? Hiruzen asked, nodding along as Kakashi reported. The Jonin smiled dryly. I'd usually take a genin team and run, but this is about the political pressure, right? Correct. Hiruzen scowls. The 5th councilman is pressing for results, as is the 7th. The 2nd is trying to slow them down, but it isn't working. The rest are curious, but are patiently waiting, though I don't think that will last. And if the results aren't up to their standard? Kakashi asked, even though he knew the answer. It was always the same answer. I will be pressured into passing on the Hokage title. The Sandame's mouth pressed into a thin line, and most likely, the council will pick Danzo as a replacement. And all the other villages know about Danzo's shady work, they might turn on us. Not to mention, the perfect window of the Chunin exams are coming up. Kakashi nods. Right. So if I meet Momochi, I'll let the kids run free, and if they're about to die, I'll deal with him. Now, I need to get going. To prepare for my mission. Kakashi, Hiruzen sighed, please don't do anything reckless. It'll be better if we have one shady Hokage than a dead genin team. Kakashi wasn't sure he agreed, but he wasn't going to toss his team's lives on the line either. Hi. Dismissed. Kakashi Hatake, 009720, Jonin. Hiruzen watched Kakashi leave, a heavy weight on the old man's shoulders. He really didn't like pressuring Kakashi into bringing out excellent results, but he was the only person the Sandame could trust with this. Not only was Kakashi's resume impressive, the man has also been in war and understood loss and the importance of having a good Hokage. The Hatake also knew what lengths Danzo would go to, and the ex-Anbu was the only one suited to hold all the classified information. Pipe //pipe/. Wearing their old colorful ninja gear for the first time in days, the 3 genin had to admit they had gotten used to the protection and flexibility their Team 7 gear had, and now thought their old gear were impractical. See what I felt? Kakashi ruffled up Naruto's hair when the boy complained. Sasuke nodded. This now feels so childish to wear. Agreed. Sakura shuddered, as she was tying up her hair into a bun. Though we are bringing our uniform, right? Kakashi nods, holding up a scroll. Who wants to safe keep? The 2 boys looked pointedly at Sakura, who spluttered, me. But I always lose stuff. I have no stuff to take care of most of the time, Naruto says, and Tem here doesn't safe keep stuff. It's either let's use it or throw it. Sasuke scowled. Not that, but something like that. Kakashi hands Sakura the scroll, and she looks at it for a while, before slipping it into her waist pack, which was a new addition to store all of her extra items. It was crimson, looked tiny, but stored a hell lot. It was sealed by none other than Kakashi himself, and it could store up to 5 times its normal volume. Naruto had a similar seal on his thigh pouch, and so did Sasuke. But the Uzumaki had the pockets inside of his orange jacket also sealed, as well as Sasuke's new fingerless gloves which had Senbon inside, with many stored. It was a welcome gift from Kakashi when he returned their uniforms the day after they first wore their uniform, telling them that even though it was childish and impractical when you wear it, it was good to wear while pretending to be children. You're here, early, Tazuna spluttered, arriving 5 minutes before 10:30. Sakura smiled. Lesson 15, always be wherever you need to be early by 15 minutes. Lesson. Tazuna frowned. Let's just go. Kakashi grins as he nods and lets Tazuna walk first, giving Sakura a thumbs up behind the old man's back before taking up the rear of the group. Halfway there, Naruto spoke up. Scarecrow, do you sense that? Sasuke tried his hardest to keep a straight face and Sakura hid her giggle with a cough. Kakashi rolled his eyes, before replying, no, I don't. Naruto nods slowly. Oh, I must be imagining it. One thing that Kakashi knew about the Kyuubi's influence on Naruto was that his range of sensing chakra was wide, almost as wide as Kakashi's. Even if Naruto isn't as thorough as Kakashi, only knowing that someone's close, not knowing what level of shinobi they were. But Kakashi knew. It was two Chunin-level shinobi who were currently coming towards them, making an attempt at hiding their chakra. They were quite good at it, but couldn't get past Konohagakure's top ninja and their Jinchuriki. Sasuke and Sakura exchanged looks. On missions, when someone said they didn't sense something, it's usually the opposite. The two of them already knew that their sensory abilities were way under both Naruto's and Kakashi's, and so opted to let the two be on guard while focusing on their mission, escorting Tazuna. The old man was fidgeting, occasionally glancing behind him as if to confirm that Team 7 was still there, heaving a sigh of relief every time he saw them. But then he looked back and saw only Sakura, who was humming happily to herself. Where's? Sakura smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, they'll be back. Kakashi then waltzes out of the tree line, giving Sakura a thumbs up. Don't worry, the boys'll take care of them. Take care of what? Tazuna started to sweat. Who's after me? Are they after me? You'll protect me. I never said they're after you. Kakashi's smile turned into a glare, and I'd like to know why the demon brothers are tracking us. Do you have anything to tell me? Tazuna gulped. Well, Kakashi didn't look surprised as a set of trees set on fire behind him, not even phased. Sakura whistled, grinning, and Tazuna felt a shiver go down his spine. This man was intimidating. I don't have all day, you know. Sakura squints. Sensei, are you sure they'll be okay? They don't know any water jutsus. Our opponents do, Kakashi reassured her, and I do. The forest won't be burnt down, don't worry. Now, Tazuna, I really need the information. Or, we'll turn around and leave, because frankly, I don't think a team of Genin and one Jonin is a match for two Chunin and their employer. It's just. Tazuna freaked out. It's nothing big. It's just an old feud between. I said. Kakashi's eyes narrowed as he shunshined right in front of Tazuna, using that dramatic appearance. Employer. And you didn't react. Who's employing them? I'd suggest you not lie. Sakura chimes. Sensei can be scary when he wants to. Well, while Tazuna was finding the right words that didn't seem too immature or disrespectful, Naruto and Sasuke were dealing with two Chunin Nukenins, known as the Demon Brothers from Kurigakure. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. Sasuke called, so Naruto knew what he was doing. Naruto grinned. Futon. Datappa. The second huge fireball was powered by the wind surge, which freaked the Demon Brothers out. They were supposed to be Genin. Not freaking Chunin disguised as Genin. The two joined chakras and forced out an equally big counter. Naruto landed next to Sasuke, both of them analyzing the situation. Sasuke talked first. Our attacks are the same strength, but since fire is naturally weak against water, they've got the upper hand. But both of our affinities aren't fire, Naruto continued, so we can beat them up. Wind and lightning don't really have any sort of good or bad relationship with water. Sasuke scowled. Why can't Usagi beat them up for us? Earth is strong against water. Teamwork. Naruto pointed at the two brothers, see. So we work together too. Toget. I get it. Sasuke rolls his eyes. Stop treating me like a child. You're younger than me. Let's do this. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Naruto hissed. You know you don't have to. Shut up, Tem. I like the names. Sasuke sighs, knowing he couldn't convince Naruto otherwise. Let's get this over and done with. Dendo Hari Hyirigari no Jutsu. Once Naruto saw the tips of the electric needles slowly forming on Sasuke's right arm, he sent out his clones to engage the two brothers in combat, biding time for Sasuke's needles. How long? Sasuke narrowed his eyes. 10 more seconds. The needles worked like this. The user focuses on only one spot on their body to grow the needles, and when forming, if someone touches it, they'll be stung mildly. But if the hit's stronger than the needle itself, or it gets attacked by someone else's chakra, then the needles disappear, which means the user needs to keep the needles safe and out of harm's way until the needles are ready to launch. Hence the reason why Naruto was buying time, wincing and cursing each time his clone was killed. 10 seconds are up, Naruto said, glancing at Sasuke. The raven-haired boy nods and leaps down behind of the brothers, delivering a kick and sending the needles right at his face. Ashish, the demon brother ate a needle, coughing and spluttering. Aunt, il me fait. You're not supposed to, Sasuke grunts, twisting around and kicking the Nukenin in the face. They're meant to shock and numb you. The Uchiha puffed, crouching over the ex-Kiri nin who lay on the ground, and jumped back just as the demon brother's hand shot up to grab his throat. That was supposed to knock you out. Lil, Enin, Uff1, were. The demon brother grinned. Little what? Sasuke taunted. I don't think I can hear you right, is it because you might be an uneducated little brat? What? No, I seriously can't understand you. Quote. Nope, still can't understand you, you scum. The demon brother roared in anger and charged the Uchiha, but the boy was simply buying time. This time you'll pass out. A new set of needles flew from Sasuke's shoulder, tearing away his sleeve, and nailed the Nuken in the neck and chest. It gave the man a terrible shock, and before he could even process the fact that he couldn't feel his neck, Sasuke had already hooked his foot around the Nukenin's neck and slammed the demon brother's face into the ground. That's enough. Sasuke stood on top of him, stomping on the demon brother's back a few times. I think. Oi, Dobi, you done. Once upon a time, Naruto sang while dragging another unconscious demon brother behind him, there was a boy called Naruto Uzumaki, his teammate Sasuke Tem beat up these, he threw his demon brother forwards. Idiots. Woo. Sasuke sighed, before pulling out rope from his thigh pouch. Let's tie him up, you opera idiot. Opera. Naruto grinned. You wanna hear opera? Ready. Naruto took a deep breath in, but before he could shriek at the top of his lungs, Sasuke stuffed the rope in his mouth and opened Naruto's thigh pouch to take Naruto's rope. Shut up already. Naruto spat the rope out. Geez, no appreciation for music these days. Sasuke rolls his eyes, expertly tying up his demon brother, before hauling the man onto his shoulders. Naruto hums while doing the same, obviously in a good mood. The two of them, covered in a sheet of sweat, walked back onto the open road, where Sakura was already pulling out medical supplies and Kakashi was asking, interrogating, some questions to Zuna. Good job, Sakura praised, but then whacked them on the head. WHO told you to use fire. Baka. Now half the forest is on fire thanks to you and I bet it did nothing but waste chakra. Naruto chuckled sheepishly, glancing at Sasuke, and the two of them just realized that the demon brothers' counterattacks only deflected their fireballs, not completely snuffing them out. It also wastes their chakra. Sakura glared at him but wrapped his bleeding hand anyways, and cleaned Sasuke's wounded shoulder, which came from him releasing his needles too early before it had fully developed. Both of them dropped their hostages with a sigh, before waiting patiently for Sakura to do what she was doing. Kakashi walked over, beaming, leaving a shivering Tazuna behind. Good job, you two. Now, I have to go deal with that. And when he said that, Kakashi jerked his head towards the raging fire in the background, a stormy look in his eye. Naruto squeaked. Rabbit already scolded us. There's no need for you to do it too. Kakashi smiled at Sakura, ruffling her hair. Good. Now, please excuse me. And, even though he was walking towards a fire, the Jonin walked casually into the trees, looking completely at ease. Tazuna gulped. Scary. I told you, Sakura remarks, wrapping bandages around Sasuke's shoulder. He's only really scary when you lie to him, Naruto muses, remember when Tem tried to lie his way out of punishment? That, Sasuke shuddered, was a mistake. A big one, Sakura agreed, before smiling and pulling away from her teammates. There. Done. A huge sizzling sound came from inside the forest, and Kakashi walked out moments later with nothing but smoke behind him. I smiled. Let's get going. Pipe // pipe. Itadakimasu. Team 7 chimed together, picking up their chopsticks. Tsunami watches with a smile as her guests eat quite quickly, having gotten into the habit of eating quickly to be able to train more often. Eat. Thank you for bringing my father home safety, really. Kakashi smiles. No, it's nothing. It's just our job. Inari. Tazuna reprimands, stop stuffing your face like a pig. The small 8-year-old pokes out his tongue. No. Sakura nudges Naruto. Reminds me of someone. Not me. Naruto's response was impressively fast. Sasuke nods gravely in agreement. Yes, you. Done. Sakura exclaimed. Ha, you two now owe me 2 tips each. The boys grumble, but agree nonetheless. They'd bet each other's tips during training to see who eats the fastest, and this time, Sakura won, and now they needed to give her 2 tips during training. But, Naruto pouted. It's rice. You eat rice quickly. What? Like you eat ramen fast, and Blue eats dango and sashimi fast. Sakura retorts, crossing her arms. You owe me. They might. Kakashi smiled, but it's most likely you'll give them tips. We're going to be doing the walking on water exercise tonight. What? Naruto gaped. But, Sensei. Lesson 1, Kakashi deadpans, and Naruto instantly shuts up. We're going to do it with a twist. We're going to do it with either freezing cold water or boiling hot water. It'll depend on my mood when you fall in. Depend. Sakura felt a bitter taste in her mouth. On your mood. Eat less. Sasuke hisses at Naruto, who pushes his rice bowl away from him, and smiles apologetically at Tsunami. It isn't your cooking, Tsunami-san. Naruto gulped. It's just, Sensei likes to surprise us when we train. Tsunami watches, amused. It's fine. This walking on water exercise, is it hard? Not particularly. Kakashi answers, not for them. But, one miscalculation and you go tumbling into the water. Good luck, Tsunami says, smiling as they excuse themselves from the table, and Kakashi leads them to a small pond in the midst of all of the trees. The Jonin gestures to the water, inviting them to try. Sakura goes first. Timidly placing a foot on the water, she took shaky steps on the pond, getting used to emitting chakra off her feet. She knew the theory and intention behind this exercise, which made it easier for her to try the technique out. Like Naruto, she imagined chakra as a force, but it was a fire for her, and the more she fed the fire, the larger her chakra would be. It was like 2 fire points on her feet, and she was feeding them constantly to get them to hold her on the water. Good job, Kakashi says. Next. Naruto runs onto the water, bellowing, if Red can do it, so can I. And broke Sakura's concentration, sending the girl tumbling into the water. Naruto also sunk in on the first step, not emitting chakra on his feet despite rushing towards the pond, and they 2 of them went under. To abide by his word, Kakashi placed his palm on the water, pushing chakra out and making the water extremely cold. Sasuke gulped, taking an uncertain step back. Sakura broke the surface first, her hair coming out, and her lips blue. Sea cold, she stuttered, and Sasuke walked over to help her out. Naruto came up, gasping for breath. I see can't tf feel me leg gs. Sakura glared at him. Baka. I was doing so well. Sasuke again helped his teammate, hauling the boy out of the water. Dobi, you can't just charge onto the water. How do you do it? Naruto pouted. Tell me how, sensei. Kakashi smiled. I thought you'd ask. Naruto waited. Kakashi's face turned blank. Figure it out yourself, fox brat. And of course, Sasuke sighed, we're on our own. Not really. Sakura shivered, I've got a good idea of what to do. Just imaging pushing chakra out of your feet, because that's what you're supposed to be doing, and it'll keep you afloat. Like. Sasuke carefully stood on the water. This. Yeah. Sakura grinned. Good job. Sasuke picked up a foot and placed it back down in front of him, before taking another step. And face planting into the water, which Kakashi happily made boiling hot, making the Uchiha yelp and pretty much fly out of the water, drenched. Sakura chuckled sheepishly. Walking requires you to continue emitting chakra on both feet, but you can lessen it as you lift your foot up. Don't just forget about your other foot, Blue. Of course, Sasuke nods, before he was hit with a breeze. It felt normal to Kakashi, but it was warm to both Sakura and Naruto, but felt freezing cold to Sasuke. Kakashi smirked. This brings back good memories. How can you not do it? It's easy, a younger Kakashi said. Obito Uchiha snarls. Yeah, well only for you, Bakashi. Truly the golden boy of the generation, Rin agreed. Now how do you do it? It was winter, and they were training on the Cherry Blossom Lake, which Minato had happily melted for them to practice, but left the water freezing cold. The Jonin was talking to another sensei up on top of the hill just nearby, leaving Kakashi to supervise Team 7. You emit chakra from your feet, Kakashi said for the umpteenth time while walking onto the water with ease. And once you get the hang of it, you can learn to lessen your chakra as you walk. Lesson WHAAA. Obito shook his head. Gimme something easy. Lesson 1. Kakashi whacked Obito's head, never complain. Now you're going to abide by those when I'm in charge. Freaking Chunin kid, Obito grumbled.